everyone. Thank you for coming to the LD12 meeting. We have a jam-packed meeting. We have some great speakers scheduled for tonight, and I realize people probably can't see me because the camera's right here. So we're trying this hybrid again. Thank you for everybody for your patience. It is taking us a while. I'm not a tech savvy person, so if anybody else has a suggestion, I'd like that to be followed up with a, I can do that for you kind of thing. So when I ask for help, I'm asking that somebody can come and help us. So we have Sherry's camera. So speakers, all of my speakers, you have a little pictures box. Stay in this little area. It will help for them to hear and see as well as the guests. Okay. For the agenda, we talk about the speakers. Our three legislators, will hear from them at the end, of course. So next slide, AJ. I don't remember what else. Keep going. We talk about COVID-19. It's still not over. So if you're not feeling well, please don't come to our meetings. This is why we get the hybrid option. You can go online. Everybody's welcome to wear a mask. We have plenty of space spread out. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Zoom best practices. We have been doing Zoom for what, 3 years now? We all know what the Zoom best practices are. So please keep yourself muted. If you have anything, you will need to put it into the chat because that's the only way for us to communicate. We won't be unmuting anybody on Zoom. We won't be letting anybody on Zoom talk. Everything will be through chat. Next slide. Keep going. We're going to talk about agenda. Anybody want to do the land acknowledgement? Sherry said, no, does anybody? No. All right, Sherry. Oh. Okay.
Over here, picture box. I'm really, we're trying here.
We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the ancestral homelands of the indigenous nations that have inhabited these lands since time immemorial, including the Akimal, O'odham, and Pequash peoples. Their traditional care and honoring of these lands allows us to be here today.
Okay. AJ, you are up, so you run up here, and we'll go back there. Thank you for being patient on Zoom. We're coming to check the chat now. It's all you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ajlan Kurdolu. You can call me AJ. I have the privilege of serving you on our executive board. But the reason I'm here, I'm a first-generation Turkish American. And as you know, almost 40 days ago, Turkey had one of the biggest earthquakes of the century. And I gave you some information about last time. I want to give you an update. Now we are at the 40-day time limit. We have over 55,000 lives lost. 49,000 of them in Turkey, 6,000 in Syria. And over 5 million people, think about that number, that's almost 3/4 of Arizona became suddenly homeless. 4 million of them spread around the country, but we have 1 million people, they are living in tents and container buildings. This country needs help. And our land, our country helped a lot to Turkey right now. In the East Coast, West Coast, all around, we see big organization donating huge sums of money, people sending their small contributions. And when you go to USAID website, you'll see these people need two things. First, cash. Cash will help them. And the second, we need your thoughts and prayers. I just want to mention we are going through, I'm using Turkish philanthropy funds, and considering this is a month of Women's History Month, I want to tell you what they are doing. This organization right now giving $1 million to the helping to the victims, female victims in Turkey. They are spending $500,000 to help college students. They are spending $200,000 to help teenage girls to create safe space for them because they need services, especially mental health services. And also they are providing $100,000 to provide laundromats and the shower cabins and hygiene products. We really need your help. And I know we have some big organization here. If they want to contribute to this humanitarian cause, we will be so happy to accept your donations. I just don't want to take too much of your time. If everybody gives $10 today, this will provide a container for a family to survive for the next year through this devastating effect. So thank you. And I appreciate my board for giving me this opportunity.
So to the people on Zoom, we realize that the picture is kind of blurry. I don't know why. But we're trying to figure it out. And I don't think they can see us. Because if you look at your phone, it's just showing the LD12 up there.
Okay.
So we're gonna figure that out as we go along, because we like to do that, try to figure it out. It's Women's History Month. We're gonna continue on as they work in the back. It's Women's History Month. I just want to remind everybody, it's women like you paved the way for women like me, and for that I am grateful. So can I see the next slide? The next slide. These are the women that got elected this past election. Some amazing work. We elected a lot of great women. We have more to go, of course. But just want to remind you that for any woman that has worked with you or helped you or guided you, please make sure that they get recognized this month, so that, and every month I should say. Am I good to?
Nope, keep going.
Okay, so, we're gonna keep going. I don't know what the next, can you go to the next slide? All right, do we have anybody that is this is your first time attending an LD12 Democrats? Can I see a hand? Oh, wow. We are very happy to have you here at our meeting. We meet here once a month, so thank you. I hope you guys will come back. We always do a lot of good stuff in this district. We are very, very active. Okay, and can you tell me what city are you from? Tempe. Tempe, and then who else? Phoenix. From Phoenix, Awatuki. Who else was over here? Go ahead. You're from which city? From Tempe? Okay. Did you, and who else? And you're from? Mesa. Mesa, nice. And there was somebody over here?
Phoenix,
Phoenix, great. Anybody else?
On Zoom, we have Jerry Chisek from Chandler.
And we have somebody from Chandler. And where are you from? Awatuki. All right. Well, great. Well, we do have a welcome packet that we give to all of our first time attendees. And there we'll tell you a little bit about it. You can put them over there somewhere. They're up here, you can grab it. It tells you all about the LD and how you can get involved. All the great things that we do. We do a ton of events every single month. So, and also at the front is our agenda that tells you everything that's coming up in the next 30 days until our next meeting. So thank you for attending. Next is our elected officials. I know we have some elected officials. I think I saw, well, Representative Gutierrez. Armando, school board. Yes. Constable. Who else? Yep, is there anybody else? Oh, yes, and you are?
Joel Navarro, city council member.
Okay, Joe, welcome. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Is there anybody else? Anybody else on Zoom?
No.
I thought I saw a couple people. I already said Bridget.
Nobody mentioned something.
We do only have one candidate. I took the slide out, but we do have Kevin Robinson. I do want to remind you that tomorrow is election day for us in Phoenix City Council District 6. Please make sure you text your friends, your family, everybody in the district and Ahwatukee to get out there and vote by tomorrow. We only have one in-person election site. It's at Pecos Community Center. We're looking for volunteers to go out there and electioneer. I totally forgot the word. Electioneer tomorrow. Hand out flyers, answer any questions. If you're interested in electioneering tomorrow at the Pecos Community Center, let Sherry or I know, and we will set you guys up. Okay. But yeah, do you want to say anything? You want to say how things are going really quick? Kevin? Yes.
Sorry, he's like, me? Yes, you. Come on. Come and tell us how it's going.
And I'm sure you're nervous. Tomorrow's a big day. Oh, and then come to the watch party. Ooh, I love Angela.
Tomorrow in Enchiladas, the one at 60th Street North. Thank you very much. My name is Kevin Robinson. I'll give you a real quick update on District 6. Over 31,000 ballots have already been received, which is exceptional. Thank all of you, everyone that has taken the opportunity to participate in all of our rights in the voting process is greatly appreciated. I am cautiously optimistic. We have run a very disciplined campaign for the last 18 months. We've done everything we were supposed to do, knocked on well over 12,000 doors. So we've been at it for a very long time. And hopefully we'll have some very positive results tomorrow evening. But regardless of how it goes, I want to thank each and every one of you for all that you have done. You know, LD12 is by far the most successful, the most talked about legislative district around, and all of you should give yourselves a round of applause for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kevin, I have a quick question. Do you happen to know if we're going to be notified that our ballots were received the way it's done in a regular election?
The question was, will you be notified by the city that your ballot has been received? They're not sending it out. My understanding is you can contact the clerk's office and they will let you know that it has been received.
And in my newsletter was a link to be able to check your ballot.
It's not working.
It's not working.
It worked for me. I used it. And it
Okay.
said verified.
Yeah.
My whole family did this on the camera.
Oh, yeah.
But you can do it by phone,
You can?
but you can, but I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Okay, and text me and we'll make sure we get that link to you.
I
So
was
that
just wondering because
it's-
there was an issue with one of the post office locations in the last election. And that's right smack in the dab of Ahwatukee.
Yes, we did know. We did hear about that. We did report it. They did look into it. And there was a lot of ballots being lost from one post office. But remember that this election is not to Maricopa County election, it's to the city.
So I was
Yeah,
just
well, I
curious.
went to Maricopa County election. I was like, wait a minute, where's my ballot? And I'm like, oh, wait, never mind. So I know because it's not Maricopa County. Yeah, so you do have to go through the city. But when you go on there, there is a little thing at the top that says special election. And then you click on there and from there we'll give you a list of everything.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Good luck.
Thank you.
Is going to be our next speaker for the night. We're just a little behind in the slide, so we're. Oh, I forgot to mention. No, come on here. Come on. You can tell our budget, we need to hit the next slide so that QR code pops up. There you go. Don't forget to buy your raffle ticket. Thank you, Judy and Bill, for donating these wonderful baskets. This is how we raise money every month, so we buy these raffle tickets. I'll get to the next slide. Thank you for coming to our wonderful meeting. You know, we have a great outcome. Our volunteers are great, and Marcus can give us a DNC update. Well,
We good? Let's do it again. How about 12? Take that. I am back from a DNC meeting last month. I think it's been several months. I think it was a prior DNC meeting. I was in DC and spoke to you over the internet by Zoom. It's good to see everybody in person at a meeting again. Democrats begin with D, and we have delivered. Let's remember how we got where we are. We delivered 500 million shots in arms to cure and help get us past the worst pandemic that we have faced in a century. We have the lowest unemployment rate of my lifetime, and I'm not that young anymore, of the last 55 years, the lowest unemployment rate, the highest jobs growth in a 2-year period of time ever, protected our small businesses through government infusion during the pandemic to keep small businesses alive. It is Democrats without a single Republican vote. Without a single Republican vote, who twice supported the bills to make sure that our small businesses thrive, that we put dollars in people's pockets so that people stayed home and could survive what could have been an economic calamity. And instead, we have one of the highest job growth rates ever. We have the lowest unemployment rate, as I said, since the mid-1960s. We have an economy that is doing very well, notwithstanding what's going on with Silicon Valley Bank right now. That said, we have work to do, because that happened without a single Republican vote, much of what of our successes over the past 2 years. As we are entering this Congress and trying to get work through in this Congress, we're already in election season for 24. No disrespect to Robinson tomorrow, but pass tomorrow and vote for him if you haven't already voted. Pass tomorrow. We are already in 24, and the math is not as good for Democrats, and it wasn't too good in 22 either when we pulled out a miracle. We have more Senate seats than we have to defend than we have had in multiple cycles, and they happen to be in jurisdictions that are not as friendly to us, including Arizona. We'll see what happens here, whether it's a 3-way race with a newly formed independent. There's no independent senators here in the room, right? At the moment. Okay, we'll see what happens. Oh, someone's giving me a time signal. I see what's going on there. Okay, I didn't know that was happening. All right. Trying to box me in. All right. We'll see what happens here. Nevada, we have a tough race with Jackie Rosen. We have a tough race in Montana with John Tester. The one that we are most likely not going to be able to keep, but we're going to do what we can if he's running, is Joe Manchin in West Virginia. We'd rather have his vote the 90% of the time that we do than the 10% of the time that we don't, than to have his vote and a vote in that state 0% of the time. So we need to support West Virginia if he decides to run. We're going to have a tough time in Michigan because our incumbent has retired and it is a swing state in the presidential year. There are multiple states that are on the map. We cannot keep our foot off the pedal for this election that's coming up. 2 quick things. I got 1 minute? Good. 1 minute. At the DNC meeting, we did something different. We shook up the presidential selection process. Iowa will no longer be the first. Well, I got friends in Iowa too. I'm protecting the whole state, the whole country as a DNC member, but we wanted a more representative selection to select our presidential nominee. We ended up putting first South Carolina, where it turns out 90%, I did not know this, 90% of African Americans who can trace their roots to 1900 came through the port of Charleston. I didn't know that it was that high. So that was the selling point for South Carolina. It also happened to be the home of our DNC chair, Jamie Harrison. It also happened to be the state that changed it for Joe Biden this last time. Then it will be followed by New Hampshire and Nevada on the same date. Arizona's delegation supported Nevada, moving up that high, followed by Georgia, and then Michigan, and Iowa and Arizona will fall someplace after that. So that's gonna shake things up with an indulgence for half a minute. Thank you. Thank you. So kind of me.
20 seconds.
So the DNC has a gender parity rule that allows, that required since the early 80s, that our state delegations or state committees and our state delegates to the national convention be as gender equal as possible. Arizona has overachieved. Our state committee is now approaching 70% female.
All right.
Okay, good. But what's actually good for the goose is good for the gander. There are states where they are in the 30s and 40% female, and they're trying to get to 50-50. So to prevent our delegates from being taken away from us, the state committee here in Arizona decided that they're going to form a committee that evens it up. I am being hauled off already, and that was left for the next time. Good to see LD12.
Thank you, Paul, assuming our timekeeping for tonight, so we could stay on track. We have a jam-packed agenda. So Selena was going to be here. She is not here yet, so we're going to skip it. And Bridget, you are up. While she heads up there, on the next slide, you'll see every month we like to spotlight one of our newly elected officials who worked hard to get these people elected. We like to hear from them. So if you are an elected official in this past election or know somebody, we'd like to hear from you for future meetings. So Bridget, remember your little picture class.
So interestingly enough, when they asked me to do this, I looked at my calendar and I realized I have actually been a constable starting today for 1 year.
Woo!
So I've been doing it a year now. So I've been doing it a year, so I've seen a lot of things, I've done many things, and it's been quite interesting. I think the most important thing I can say is that every day is something different, but like I can tell you about something that happened today, 2 things I learned today. I went to do an eviction, knock on the door, and the answer, there are 3 kids, 2 of them mid-teens, and then like an 8-year-old kid that just had very mental physically, and had a wheelchair and was just laying there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go. I said, do you have anywhere to go? And they're like, no, we don't know what we're doing yet. We were hoping to make it work with rental assistance and all that stuff, and that stuff was so far behind. And I happened to call Pier 7 while I was there, and I was lucky enough to have them right there in the area 4 minutes away. So they actually got there, and hopefully they're gonna get this family somewhere to sleep for a couple of days, and hopefully get them another place to live. But that's the kind of stuff that we run into every day. Another thing that I found out today through John, Kyrene was with me, is that we went and had to evict a veteran, and this was a month and a half ago or something like that. He had to be evicted because he and the management weren't getting along. So he had to go. But we got Pier 7 involved, and Pier 7 involved with him too. And Sean told me today that the young man actually asked to stay. He got his act together. He waited to get his disability check. He waited to get his medication, and he got himself totally organized by himself and moved back home to the East Coast. And to me, that's another success that we got by helping people while we're not being doors and having to do a lot of this stuff. There's a lot of violence happening towards law enforcement these days, and it's a little bit scary out there, but I think by using our compassion and kindness and resources and skills, we're kind of trying to do our best to keep ourselves safe. But there's a lot of warnings on it for us right now out there. So along with the eviction, of course, I'm doing subpoenas and summons and orders of protection and different things like that. So there's just a lot going on, and it's busy, it's really busy, so I'm happy to take any questions. If anybody has any. Okay, Karen.
I just want to say that she is a remarkable constable, and while I'm out on my medical leave, she's covering me, so please give her a hand.
Yes.
And I just wanted to say, speaking to Karen, I didn't realize, before Karen went on her medical leave, I didn't realize how closely the two
We're up against each other.
how closely Tempe and is it down?
Well, I'm also Timmy.
Yes.
So I'm Kyrene, so I'm half Timmy and half, and so
But I
we
didn't
butt right up
yeah,
against each
I
other.
didn't realize how closely you work together.
And it's
How
important. It's
someone
good.
fell through a floor.
That happens, dangerous. Marion. Your fan club? Yeah.
I want to say also that Bridget has been helping the Help, which is an organization, so she sees people that are homeless and everything, and she has been helping provide meals for IHELP.
Even in her spare time.
Okay, so on the next slide is, again, I'm just gonna, if you know anybody that wants to get up and speak, and come to our meetings, we'd love to hear how things are going in your new positions. Our next speaker is going to come up and give a presentation. Here's how the night will go. We're gonna allow them 10 minutes for an opening. We're gonna open it up to questions. Questions will be in person only. If you are on Zoom, you can put it into the you can put your question in chat if you're on Zoom. And somebody will be monitoring the chat, okay? We're not gonna unmute anybody on Zoom to ask any questions. So again, on Zoom, you'll put it in chat. In person, we will allow you 30 seconds to ask your questions. As you can tell, Paul is really good at keeping track. We'll give you 1 minute to respond to their 30-second question. We're doing this so that we are allowing enough time for everybody to get a question in if you have one. We want to make sure that you get your answers and to your questions today, and then everybody has it clear. This, for everybody in Albuquerque, I'm sure you all know, this is about the new Coyote Stadium in Tempe. So we're going to hear one side on which way you should vote, and then next month, we will have the other side that they will come and present to tell you. So you'll get to hear both sides. So I will turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Xavier Gutierrez. I am the President CEO of the Arizona Coyotes. First of all, I want to thank LD12 for inviting us to be here today. And I want to thank you all. This is my first legislative district meeting, but I have heard so much in particular about LD12 and how active it is. And I think it's incredibly important for you all to hear directly from us about this project. I think we're going to load it up. Let's go back. So what we're going to talk to you right now is about propositions 301, 302, and 303. And we'll talk about how they got onto the ballot. But in short, what we want to highlight is we believe this is the right project, the right deal, and that we are the right team to execute on turning a city-owned landfill into a landmark, not just for Tempe, but for the entire valley. Next. So what do we mean by the right project? Hold on. Technical difficulties back there.
I'll pause. the
Thank
timer.
you. I was gonna say, can I get a pause on that? Here we go. So this is the current site for those of you who can see this. This is 46 acres on Priest and Rio Salado. Rio Salado is to the south, Priest is to right here to the west, and that is the Salt River, Tempe Town Lake. So just an orientation, right to the east is the Boyer Idea Campus and Tempe Center for Performing Arts. This is a landfill. The westernmost parcel currently houses, this keeps going back and forth, sorry. westernmost parcel currently houses the city of Tempe's facilities maintenance yard. To the left, right to the right, which is the easternmost parcel, is just compost piles. But the entire site is actually called in city documents, the pre-stride landfill. We have done 20 borings on 35 feet. This landfill has various levels of toxicity. It is an environmental and public safety risk and liability to the city of Tempe, amounting to $210 million to clean it up. Next. Many of you know, last summer, the site actually caught on fire, creating a toxic fire that the brave men and women of the Tempe Firefighters Department actually put out. Next. So what is our vision for this current landfill? What you see here is a rendering of what we want to build, and I want to say something that I say often. This is not an arena project. This is a best-in-class urban redevelopment project that's anchored by an arena, because it's so much more than an arena. It's an opportunity for the first time ever to have a privately funded $2.1 billion sports and entertainment district. Every building you see on this rendering will be paid by us. There will not be $1 of taxpayer dollars for any of those buildings you see there. And in fact, we are also paying for the land, which again, is currently owned by the city, and it is an environmental risk right now. Next. Proposition 301, 302, and 303. I'm going, since I only have 6 more minutes. First, the city of Tempe had a third party do a review, and it called this proposition, this proposal that we had, the site's highest and best use. And in part, because of everything that's going on to it. It's a $2.1 billion project, one of the largest in the history of Arizona. We will remove 1.5 million tons, again, of various toxicity of trash that has sat there for almost 7 decades. Yes, it will include a state-of-the-art arena for us and for other sports teams. It will include a practice facility that will be open. It will be a community amenity, open to the entire community when they're not in use by us. It'll include a restaurant row, a retail center, 2 hotels, which are badly needed, not only in Tempe, but in the entire valley, a private medical office campus, 2,000 units of residential. We see this as a live, work, play community, and also a 3,500 person theater. Next. This is the site plan. As you can see, it's cut up in 2 phases. The easternmost phase, which will actually be phase 1, is the arena. The westernmost phase will be primarily residential and retail. It'll be 4.25 million square feet of developable real estate. Every single building you see there, again, is paid by us. Not $1 by Tempe taxpayers, not $1 guaranteed by any taxpayer. Next. The economic benefits are significant. And by the way, I encourage you to go on tempewiz.com. This entire presentation is there. What's also very interesting is, as many of you know, there was a 7-0 vote by the City Council of Tempe to approve this project. There was a 7-0 vote to approve the development review of this. Everything you see here is actually public. Everything I tell you, you can go ahead and review it. It's a $13.1 billion new spending in Tempe over the next 30 years. It'll create almost 7,000 permanent jobs. Net new taxes, after we talk about the Jeeplets that we have requested to use, will still be $215 million, $7 million a year for the city of Tempe, including $10 million of additional permit fees. To Maricopa County, to Arizona, they will be higher because of the sales taxes that are higher rates there. The additional benefits to the city of Tempe will be $468 million over the next 30 years. Next. It'll be a new landmark attracting over 3 million new visitors. This will be the second most visited site in the state of Arizona. In addition to naming rights, free facility usage, we will pay for all the additional police and fire safety resources, or $33 million over 30 years. That will be borne by us. A light rail incentive to be paid $13 million where your arena ticket will serve as your pass. Public shuttles, $8 million in addition to encourage orbits, a $7 million contribution to ASU, and free office space to the city of Tempe, 10,000 square feet in total. Next. Public art investments, traffic mitigation of $6 million out the door, again, to encourage traffic to be mitigated. We'll talk about that. A police substation paid by us with free rent. Workforce housing, $2 million to the city's affordable, the Tempe Coalition for Affordable Housing. Inclusive areas, we believe that in the arena should be amenable and open to everybody of all uses. We will pay $1 million to do that. I want to get to the last one. In the development agreement, we agreed for the first time ever, we became the first developer ever to make a commitment to use union labor on this project. Thank you. That will open the door for other developers to stand up in councils like the city of Tempe and be told, that's what you have to do. Next. What's the right deal? This one's going to cost a lot of questions, so 2 minutes may not be enough. Here's how the deal works. Sounds complicated. We'll try to put it in words that everyone can understand. We're buying the land. We're paying 25 bucks a square foot or $50 million. But day one, when it gets effective, we're wiring the city $40 million non-refundable. If we ever leave, they get to keep that money. We're not going to leave $40 million because we're going to be getting remediation immediately with our dollars. Simultaneously, there will be a community facilities district that's created. That community facilities district will issue bonds, we'll get to what they look like, but only for infrastructure and only for remediation, not for our pocket. We will then build every building you just saw with our money, then we will convey it to the city. And yes, we have asked for GPLIT or property tax abatement of a limited duration. I say limited because comparison to every other facility in Arizona, every other facility in Arizona does not pay property taxes in perpetuity. That's every stadium, that's every spring training facility, that's Sun Devil Stadium, every one of them. And for 8 years, we're asking for abatement for all the other uses, very similar to the 37 GPLITs approved by the City Council of Tempe along Tempe Town Lake. This proposal ensures there is no risk to the taxpayers of Tempe. Next.
30 seconds.
What are the bonds for? You're not gonna get through this in 10 seconds.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30
You can do it.
seconds. The bonds are for the remediation of the landfill, public infrastructure, and there is a cloud on title. Again, the city owns this land today. How are they repaid? A portion of the taxes that are generated by our private real estate that we're going to pay for, we're asking to go and pay for the liability that the city currently has. But more importantly, we will then impose a user charge on those that come and shop and stay and buy a ticket or rent a hotel room. That's a voluntary surcharge. If you don't want to pay it, you don't have to go on the district. But more importantly, our land that we bought, all the property we build is going to be the only guarantee of those bonds. They are not guaranteed by anything else. I know my time is up. There are probably significantly more questions.
Yes, we'll have some question time. Thank
We
you
do,
very
we have a
much.
lot of questions in chat.
You
Not a
wanna take
lot,
them down?
a few questions,
Sure.
and then we have a microphone coming around because remember, people on Zoom still need to be able to hear, so we're gonna use the microphone.
Sure.
Remember, you get a 30-second question, 1 minute to respond.
Look, go.
Mario Martinez, I'm a union member. I earn my way through college. I'm a union member. I earn my way through college working construction, okay? I organize strikes, okay? And I filed lawsuits with the National Labor Relations Department. I take great issue with your claim that you are backing union labor. In fact, the agreement says that only 25% of the labor has been. That is very good listeners. Here, we're getting giblets, you're giving us scam labor in return. Furthermore, I'd like to point out that, let's see, on your campaign advertisements, you're advertising 100%, no out-of-state funding. But when you look at the Corporation Commission website, your Bluebird development is a foreign LLC with a domicile in Delaware. How inclusive is that? Thank you.
I'll address the second question about the domicile. The domicile, most corporations are actually domiciled in Delaware just for law. Bluebird is based here. Bluebird is an affiliate of the Morello Group, and it's an affiliate of the Arizona Coyotes, Ice Arizona Hockey. If you actually look at the disclaimer of all our campaigns, it only says Bluebird Development, which is us, and Ice Arizona Hockey are the only contributors to the Tempe Wins campaign. To your first point, I appreciate that comment about union labor, but let's talk about what we agreed to, okay? This is a state right now that has significant amount of labor shortages going on in construction. We actually went to the labor unions and said, we'd like for you to guarantee labor for us. They had challenges with that in light of all the other construction. What we've done is we've gone to the city, we said, we think it's right to have a guarantee. And this is what we believe is the floor. It's not the ceiling, the floor. It also allows us to have bids for those that may not be able to find some contractors to find union labor in this state. That's the reality, is that you may not be able to find them. Sorry. But here's what I will say. You can look it up. You can also ask all the union labor that has supported this project and made that very public. They believe this is a trailblazing development because we have put it in the agreement that if we do not comply, the city of Tempe can take the project away from us even after it's built, even after we've spent our money. We believe this is good for the union labor community here in Arizona.
Thank you.
Okay,
So we're not-
so you have a question? Go ahead. Make sure you're talking to the microphone because nobody on Zoom heard your question or your comment. So again, we'd like to,
Where is the toxic trash gonna go?
It's a very good
oh, that's
question.
an online question.
Yeah, no,
too.
it's a
Good.
very, very good question. And here's what we're going to do. From day one, sustainability is at the core of everything we need to do. We need to do it for two reasons. Because it's the right thing to do, and it's core of what we want to accomplish with this project. We want this to be an example of best in class to build everything and to deal with the environmental risks. Second, it's the right business decision to make for cost effectiveness. We are working with two leading remediation firms. They are bidding right now in an RFP that, should we get approved, one of them will be selected. Here's what they've told us, three things. One, they will be sifting through 1.5 million tons of trash. That's also never been done because most of it just gets shipped out to landfills. They're going to sift through them. For that amount of trash that can be reused as compost, as basis for foundations for other real estate, as for other uses that can actually not only be used on site, but throughout all the other developments, including the two large chip manufacturers that are being built here, because that's another opportunity for us. They will use that. They haven't given us that because we haven't been able to sift through that. The remainder will go to landfills.
And a follow-up question to that.
Yes,
Who is gonna pay for the cleanup?
we will.
Okay, then I got another question on Zoom. That's two. So
Right here.
somebody over here.
Okay, so I'm not exactly clear on who we is. You said Bluebird, so Bluebird, excuse me. So explain who that is, who these people are, where they live, and where this tax revenue is like. How much are they getting? Is it going to Chicago? Who's benefiting from the tax revenue?
Bluebird is a development affiliate of the Morello Group. I was going to go through who the Morello Group's principal is Alex Morello, who is the owner of the Arizona Coyotes. Bluebird was the development arm based in Tempe that we created specifically to respond to the request for proposal for this project, and that will serve as a development entity. The capital for Bluebird is Alex Morello. It is only his equity. And then, yes, we have commercial banks, Bank of America, Citibank. City of Tempe actually received 7 letters of interest for this project from our primary lenders, which are all the commercial banks that you would think of to do the development construction. that they typically do for arenas and other uses. Yes.
I have a question. Is that okay? No. You're getting really close to your mouth. I have a question.
Why is it not working? Hold on.
I have a question.
Okay, we'll just repeat the question.
I'll
Go
repeat the
ahead.
question. Yes.
I have a question. You said the city council approved it. It is my understanding from Corey Woods and other people on the city council that they approved it going on the ballot. They did not approve the proposal.
Can I defer to the council member here who approved it?
We approved it, and what
What
happened
did you
is.
approve?
You'll have to have.
Joel, come over here, actually.
No, we as council approved the project, zoning change, the development agreement, and all those things that go with it. What happened is it was referred to the ballot by the Coyotes so the voters can have a say, not us.
It was my understanding that it was referred to the ballot, because I haven't heard any other city council person come out and say, I support it. I know Neil Giuliano said he would support it, but I haven't heard the other members of the city council.
So
say
I'll start with me. I fully support it. And because it's a 7-0 vote in the public, all the other council members, including the mayor, supported the project, clear as day.
Then I have a second question.
I have one question at a time.
So sorry, going on. We've got like 500 people.
And then you asked it, She's handing it off.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, they can hear you. Yes.
Okay, so my question is, can you explain why you should get an 8 and 30-year tax breaks when no small businesses and residents enjoy that same gift? And along with that, I would like to know how you're going to approach the FAA's decision not to support this, because you're going to make traffic a huge problem in light of the fact that I think it's the legislature now is looking at these close calls that they're having at airports. So that's my question.
I'll address the second one. The airport, Sky Harbor, did come out publicly to say they will no longer oppose this. Excuse me. They will no longer oppose it, in part because the FAA had an individual formerly with the FAA saying they would not oppose it. That is incorrect. We will be applying for our FAA application. We know that when you apply to the FAA application, what we are applying for is allowable under the FAA laws, just like it's allowable under the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Tempe and the city of Phoenix. I want to get to your second point. This right here are the financial benefits from the developer to Tempe. The land purchase price, the direct payments in taxes, and the fees we will generate, the surcharge that we are guaranteeing, and the additional cash and community benefits that we just explained. That totals $808 million. Those are direct financial benefits that we are creating. Next slide. The city of Tempe, their own analysis said it would only be $115 million in terms of the GPIT to the city of Tempe. When you take 808 in direct financial benefits and you subtract the city's own assessment of that GPIT that we have asked for of 115 million, that's a net direct financial benefit of almost $700 million. This is an economic development tool that's been approved by this council 37 times along Tempe Town Lake. And yet, even after that, our project will have direct financial benefits of almost $700 million. That is why we believe it's appropriate and it's limited in duration. Next.
Okay, I do want to make one more thing before you, Rick, is that we have this presentation when we send it out, what did you miss at the meeting? That we will include.
But I'm happy to come back and answer the question. And listen, it's a complicated and everybody has the right.
It is, and we're trying, and we want to make sure as many people can get their questions answered. We'll make sure you have the information you need, just so everybody, if we can't get to everybody, I just want to make sure everybody knows, we will get you the answers. Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Thanks. I think these are pretty numbers, they're forecasts. And I think you know probably better than most people that no stadium anywhere in the United States ever returns what the investors say. For public investment. Okay, my question is, do all three, 301, 302, and 303 need to get approved in order for this to go forward? And could you've explained the deal, but could you tell us what is in 301 versus 302 versus 303?
Sure. So the short answer is yes, all three propositions have to be approved. There are three propositions because under Arizona state law, as you all know, any legislative act that's approved by the council or any municipality is subject to a referendum. We went to the council and said, this is too big of a project, we'd like to put it forth. So after you approve the development agreement, 301, the entitlement, 302, and the zoning change, 303, we will take it to the voters. So that's what's in each one of those propositions. So the development agreement that we agree with the city that has this entire deal is 301. 302 is the entitlements. Those, the entitlements for the building, what will be on the site, that there will be hotels on the site, that there will be residential on the site, there will be shops and restaurants on the site. And then the final is there was a zoning change that was necessary for that area to allow, I believe, residential and retail.
Where's the bond issue?
There is no bond issue because there is the community facilities district bonds that will be issued are not government backed. They are not government bonds. They are simply bonds whose backing is that real estate and the land. Pardon me? No, the infrastructure bonds, infrastructure remediation bonds. The city is not putting those bonds on the balance sheet of the city. They're not being guaranteed by the city. They're not being repaid by the city. They are issued by a special district, which is common. The community facilities district is a common. Pardon me? It is made up of that area that you just saw. It's a special district saying taxes and revenue generated on that district will make up that district only. And so bonds.
After 30 years, then they start paying.
No, they pay those immediately. We can talk about that after I'm happy to talk to you further. Just so we're clear, they're not bonds issued by the city of Tempe. They're not backed by taxpayers. They're not going to be repaid by the taxpayers. I can repeat your question. Sure.
Okay, so you said there were 6,900 jobs in the city. I don't know if there's any data showing exactly like how, if it's temporary, permanent, what kind of jobs are. And then also, it's my understanding that you guys are moving from Glendale to Tempe and
Okay, so two things. Those are the permanent jobs assessments, right? Already in the market feasibility that both the city of Tempe did and that we did separately. So that is a conservative measure of permanent jobs on that district. There has been analysis, it was asked for by the city of Tempe. And what you saw, because of the different uses, because you'll have from hospitality to restaurants to the arena, you as well as to the medical office, you actually have this swath of incomes for that job. It won't just be service jobs and it won't just be office jobs, which is what you currently have throughout most of Tempe Town Lake, right? That's number one. Number two, we're already in Tempe. For those of you who may have already attended Mullet Arena, we're on the campus at ASU. We moved because we chose Tempe as the community we want to be in. So we actually spent $30 million to make that move. We spent money to create the annex, the most expensive locker room in the history of the NHL, to upgrade Mullet Arena to make it NHL worthy, to invest in a players training facility in Scottsdale, to move our hockey operations, to move our business operations in 7 months with our own money, because we want to be in this community. If you have not been to Mullet, it is the best fan experience in the NHL. We are already here. We're asking the voters to keep us here permanently, allow us to spend $2.1 billion of our money to not build an arena, but to build a landmark for this entire valley.
I didn't. So we have like 5 more minutes for this, and then we have to move on because we have 2 other dates. But there was one question online from the Zoom, and it says, any of the residential use, will it be affordable housing?
No, we have been very clear about that, and this is why. Because of the remediation and infrastructure, on a per unit basis, the cost of a residential unit on that site is between $850,000 and $1 million. That is not feasible for affordable workforce housing. What we have done is gone to the city and said, we're about to generate $7 million a year over the next 30 years. 1, 2, after we build all that, the city will have the ability to expand its bonding capacity by $2 billion to issue housing bonds and to issue services bonds. And by the way, you will then have the money to pay it with what we're paying you in taxes over the next 30 years. We want to be part of the solution, but we don't think a site in which every unit you will build starts with land, not what you're going to build, land at $850,000 to $1 million.
What's the water plan for the residential houses? When I understand it's a 100-year plan, where is it?
Yeah, so we are part of the Rio Reimagined plan, in which a high density use on that site was actually contemplated well before we came along to say, we're gonna clean it. So for us, the water plan is the water plan for this region. It's the one that we're working with the city of Tempe and the region here in Mesa and the region in Phoenix. We are very much in the same situation as all the other development, all the other residential in the Rio Reimagined plan. So for us, we are searching for the same answers that all those other residents and all those other developers are. We're also governed by the same restrictions as those, and that is in our development plan as well.
Okay, we'll do one last question. Gavin, did you have a question? Oh, wait, get a microphone. We're gonna do one last question. We'll do a quick close and then.
So I saw on there that there's phase 1, and phase 2 for construction. So, and I saw phase 1 is mostly like the stadium stuff, and then like phase 2 looks like more of the residential. So after you do phase 1, what is like, what's the possibility that, like, what's the timeline for all of this? And also, like, if things change, like you decide, oh, you know, we've done all the things that we want to do for phase 1, now we're going to change the residential numbers or whatever, is that going back to the voters, or is that you guys can just change that on your own?
So the question is, after phase 1 is built, can we go back to the voters and change? No, the rule you're making is for the entitlements. We are only allowed a maximum of 1995, so under 2000. Here's what's going to happen. That arena is going to cost between $850 million and $1 billion. We're going to pay for it, which means the other uses are the financial viability of us paying for that arena and for that practice facility and for the theater. Those other uses are what make this possible. In the first phase, you actually have a 200-key hotel. You have a 200,000 square foot medical office building that the city of Tempe already has a letter of interest from an Arizona-based medical company to move 3,000 jobs of varying income. And as soon as we get into the land, we have already paid the city $40 million. We've also secured the financing for the entire site, which means we are the ones that are guaranteeing everything. This is what we can build, but this is the maximum of what we can build.
So, thank you very much.
By the way, I'm happy to come back. I'm happy to stay. I know that many people have questions. If you have any other questions, we also encourage you to go to tempeblitz.com. You will see the video of the renderings. You will see the presentation. You will have frequently asked questions, and I'm happy to answer afterwards what any of the other issues or any of the things that have been asked out there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and we'll make sure that you have contact information. And I think this got moved. So. Hi, everyone. Right? Okay. So hit escape, like. Yeah. Go to Google first before you share screen. Hit the X. Hit the other tab. Now, share screen. Okay, sorry.
Fun with Zoom.
Yes, I know, fun. Okay, so we'll make sure again, you'll have his contact information. Next is LD12 t-shirts. I have t-shirts here in the back. I have just a select few of Mark Kelly shirts, I think a size medium left. They are free. The Mark Kelly shirts are free. If anybody wants them, please make sure to go see Marion. They're here. If not, I'm going to donate them out. Oh, there's a small. I don't know what sizes. But of course, we do a lot of our fundraising by things we sell, cookbooks, t-shirts, things like that. So make sure you check out our merchandise table. We're going to add, yes, I'm gonna hit add. We're gonna get a link on our website. It's gonna be all of our merchandise and all of our cookbooks and stuff. But I do want to take a time, well, I was gonna say, do you want to put the Bada Bing raffle basket up, the link or whatever? I want to take a moment here to say thank you to Ann Lutz. She stepped up. She's going to be taking over our Water Call Wednesday. She's already scheduled the next 2 months. Cedric Collins, I'm gonna call him out. He has stepped up. He's going to help us with social media. This is everything that has happened since our last meeting. He's going to help them do social media. Francine Bard. Dems Give Back. We're going to be featuring this every single month. And right now you have what going on? Do you want to talk about it? Okay. So we've had a lot of people step up. As you can tell, we're still working on the whole hybrid thing. I hope it's going well. I got one text that they couldn't hear Bridget, but she was speaking very softly. So you got to talk loud so the people on Zoom over there, they can hear you. And Fran is going to be helping us every month. We're going to be doing some kind of Dems Give Back because we like to give back to our community. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Francine Bard, and I'm a retired teacher, and so far we've featured Kyrene Resource Center, and now we're featuring Threads. Some of you know about Threads. It's at Mountain Point, Marcos Deniza, and Tempe High. It's a room at each school, and we give the teens basic hygiene products, new underwear, new socks, gently used teen clothes. Hoodies are a big thing with the kids all year round. I'm not sure why, but probably backpacks. We're starting to run low on backpacks. So we have Rebecca's address, I think, is on Slack, and yours is too. Those are our 2 drop-offs, and I am happy to pick up. And my email is also on Slack. So if you have any questions, let me know. And I'll be at the next meeting, so you can bring it then as well. Or if you have little kids' clothes, I also volunteer at Kyrene Resource Center. So either way, I'm happy to take it. Thank you. Perfect.
We are, just remember, Bada Bing raffle tickets, we have a little bit, while our legislators are speaking, you can still buy your raffle tickets, you pay cash, we take cash, check, credit cards, we take it all, so whatever you need, we'll make sure you get your tickets. So now we're gonna hear from our LD12 legislators. So Mitzi, did you wanna go first, or Patty, do you wanna go? Patty's already getting up, and I was already for my congratulations already.
I didn't see Senator Epstein come in, so hi Senator Epstein, so I thought you were still committee. I don't know if Representative Travers still making. I left the office, well, the Capitol, and her car was still there, so hello everybody, good to see you all. How much time do I have, Paul?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, I'll make it fast. So we just got done with crossover week, which means our bills from the House are going to the Senate, and bills from the Senate are coming over to the House. Although we're still listening to a few House bills, and I'm sure senators and Senate still listen to a few Senate bills. So those are coming over. I have to say, this is my first term, and what's the word I want to use? It's been interesting. I guess. So we've been talking about chickens in your backyard, how many you can have. It's true. And to me, that, so that as a state shouldn't be talking about that, that should be a city issue, but we're looking at you can have 9. Okay, so. We're looking at changing the expiration date for eggs, so we're going to go 24 to 45 days. I don't know why we're doing that. It's a big shortage, extending the expiration date isn't going to be great. So I don't know about that. Just got done with my Health and Human Services Committee meeting, and we're talking about rent caps for opioids, which I agree with, by the way. Although there were some folks there from LD12 that were not in favor of that. Although there was 472 of you on RTS that said you wanted to keep rent caps on opioids and narcotics, and only 42 that said you did not. So I went with the 472 people, and I agree with it anyway. I think it's a safety issue. So we're not doing real big stuff right now, and it's unfortunate. Date change for governing board meetings, things like that. So we really need to address some real policy needs, and our big blueprint is, of course, water and public schools, funding, especially all the kindergarten, the things that the governor wants, or a lot of the same things that our Democratic caucus wants. Affordable housing is one big too. I'm on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. We've been talking about the Prop 400E, Prop 400 extension. So those of you who are maybe not familiar with that, or have not been here in the state for very long, Prop 400 came about, well, it wasn't that number back then, it was 300 or something like that, about 1985. And we have a half-cent sales tax that pays for all of our roads, streets, major arterials, highways, not roads, but the major roads infrastructure for Maricopa County. And that's been very, very beneficial to the state because we're paying for our own here in Maricopa County. It leaves money for the rest of the state to be able to pay for all the other infrastructure that they need. So it's been extended once. We're looking for an additional extension, but we're having some trouble right now coming out to how much we want that to roll out as percentage wise for public transit and different infrastructure needs. Bottom line with it is we don't, so it passed last year to the House and to the Senate. The governor unfortunately vetoed it, and now it's kind of back to square one. Last year they got all these stakeholders together and were able to come up with that plan. All we needed was the governor's signature, and it was gone to do the voters. So I'm a voter too, so all of us voters. And unfortunately, like I said, it got vetoed. So we're working on it again. So we're hoping to be able to get that through. Some of the sticking points are how much money to go to public transit, which includes the light rail. And there's some folks out there that just are adamantly against light rail, which I enjoy light rail. I don't know about you, but whenever I can catch it, I do. I'm going to different places throughout town. So that's what we're looking at right now. Now, I threw a whole bunch of bills in the hopper. I didn't get any of them really looked at, but what I can say about that is I'm working right now with stakeholders to get these bills ready for prime time. So we get in there and boom, things that they say get hit in the face or trying to drink from a fire hose. Well, that's exactly what it is. So it went real fast, but I'm looking forward to next year, continue to work on some programs that I put in the hopper, grant for school lunches, to make sure that all of our kids can get a healthy lunch. School gardening program, which I had some constituents come through me and wanted to put a school gardening program. And SNAP extension, because right now it's only at 2 years, I want to get that extended to the full 5 years. So those are a few that I threw in the hopper. Going to be working on those over the summer and get them, like I said, ready for prime time next year, for next session. I'm looking for places to have monthly meetings in each community. I want to do one here in Ahwatukee, one in Tempe, and one in Chandler. Chandler or Tempe's already, Brick Road's already agreed to host one for me. But I want to kind of do a monthly type thing and just, hear from everybody. And I apologize, everybody, my newsletter has not gone out 2 months. I've been busy. So, well, that's pretty much all I have. Does anybody have any questions? I saw a hand, Jeff.
This is a really strange request. Is the legislature doing anything about the time change that took place this last weekend, which now makes us permanently a Pacific time zone?
I didn't hear that.
Well, ultimately, because the rest of the country is going to maintain daylight savings time, what's happening is that they're not going to be moving the clocks back when the fall comes. So ultimately, we are now always going to be 3 hours apart from the Eastern time zone. And given that
the question is about the time zone, if we had anything about it. We've always been, I don't think it's passed.
I don't think it passed.
Yeah,
it hasn't happened yet, but it will be made permanent as a result of November, I believe.
I'll let the senator address that when she comes up, because I'm.
That's
Handball.
I like that.
Was there another question? Yes. Right, red caps.
Repeat the question.
The red caps, and your question about that?
Yeah, what are the red caps?
Right, okay, so if you get a narcotic prescribed to you, the pharmacy right now, and this is the bill that they just passed 5 years ago, so now they want to change it because, lack of regulation, they want to keep regulating things. So, but 5 years ago, they passed it, there was, and it was a safety thing, so if there was a narcotic that you were, or an opioid that you were prescribed, that you would get a red cap on your medication. And the argument against those is that people will follow you from the pharmacy because you have a red cap, or people will steal your medicine because you have a red cap, or people will see you have a red cap in your purse and pull it out, which, to me is like all those can be mitigated, right? Put a bag that you can't see through, hide your opioids in your house, those types of things. But to me, working with older adults for many, many years, I think it's a real safety issue that we need to make sure we keep that in place. But we spent, half an hour on that today, really. So anyway, any other questions? Actually, it was one. All right, well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Now, here is your newly elected Democratic Minority Leader for the Senate.
Yes, you all know how much I enjoyed telling you that I was the Democratic Assistant Senate Leader, which made me bedazzled. I loved that. I missed it, but then I went and talked to the CPAs, Certified Public Accountants, and the podcast interviewer said, well, now you're the Senate Minority Leader, and that makes you smile. Yay! I'll take it. I'll take that. So, as Senate Minority Leader, we actually met with the governor's office this morning, as we do every morning, and as the leader, I meet with the governor herself every Monday. So those are mostly about the budget at this point. We're looking at pretty much the big picture, but by and large, our priorities are housing, schools, and water. And so I love the intro that Representative Patty Contreras gave is awesome because we should be working on housing, schools, and water. But instead, we're working on the pronoun police and how many chickens can you have, and so on and so forth, and so many little things that are, on top of everything else, just hurtful things to the LGBTQ community. The prohibitions on drag shows and the pronoun problems and the censorship of what they can teach in schools. None of that is going to help with water. We've seen so little on water, except for one bill that Nestle wants, where they want to recharge water back into the aquifer and get money for it. But that doesn't help the aquifer to have more water in it. And we're still mining water out of the aquifers was wild abandoned. Because you've heard about the Saudi Arabia thing, so I won't belabor that, that's bad enough. But we also have a problem with our water rights in that there are grandfathered water rights, because you know in 1980, we did the Groundwater Management Act. We got things a little bit under control, created these active management areas where we said if you build something new, you have to have 100 years of water there. What a great idea that is. Only it's a bit of a leaky bucket. And so one of the leaks is we grandfathered in water rights that were already there. And so there are a lot of places where people just, it says if you are standing on a bit of ground, you own all the water beneath you. And thus the one with the big deepest straw takes all the water from all of his neighbors too. So we've got some serious problems with water and we're just not addressing them because our Republican colleagues are just not interested in tackling difficult, complex issues, and they'd much rather spend their time talking about how it's so terribly dangerous to have a drag show. So instead, we in the budget meetings, we're getting serious about that. We're trying to do some good things. So for schools, we had a big win on Friday. We have a dual enrollment bill that is the governor's priority. And would be $15 million for the students to help them pay their fees when they do dual enrollment. That means they're in high school and they get college credit for the class they take in high school. It's a great idea, but they also had kind of a poison pill in there that said, let's take another $5 million and give it to teachers if their students get good grades. Okay, with me now, all the teachers in here, let's go. Oh, no. We don't want that. That's like results-based funding. It's like performance funding. It's just a bad idea because every teacher knows the grades my kids are getting now are attributed to my good work and to every other teacher who has ever helped them. And so giving an incentive to teachers, the AEA, the teachers union, had said, please don't do that. It hurts morale. So after many stakeholder meetings, we found an amendment that said, the obvious, let's give that kind of money to the school for doing a dual enrollment program, not to the teachers, that way we're not upsetting morale, but we're also helping to expand dual enrollment programs, which are so important for our kids in school. So it was a big win and it took a lot of time, a lot of various stakeholder meetings, a little bit of creativity, and a little bit of listening to each other and trying to find some good common ground. So, you know, that was a good day. We're so happy. On Friday, and then today, well, we got a little trouble with the amendment, but we'll keep on plugging away at it. And that is the way it goes there. Every time we get a couple steps forward, we realize, oh, we need to go sideways a little bit too. So we will go sideways a little bit too. The budget is moving along. Right now, we don't quite know what it's going to look like, but it's our governor's budget was a good start. And she is now listening to every one of our Democratic representatives and senators, and Representative Petty Contreras will have her moment to let the governor know what is most important to her. So speak to her, speak to me. We'll be bringing your ideas, what's most important, up into this budget, because now, for the first time in 16 years, we are actually in the majority. We have the governor that makes us be like the majority because we, the Democratic caucus, are negotiating with the governor. We don't even need to negotiate with the Republicans on the budget. We'll just ask that less people. So we're expecting that to go a whole lot better than it has in the past. I did want to mention a little bit about the Tempe idea here. How many of you are from Phoenix or Chandler? Okay, all this stuff you saw going on with Tempe, it's kind of taking money away from you. So a GIFLIT kind of works like this. In fact, we tried to put some guardrails on GIFLITs, and that's why there's the 8-year GIFLIT now. The 30-year is a special circumstance that we couldn't tack down. But a GIFLIT, I call it a GIFLIT, not a GIFLIT, because I think it's a GIF. I think it's a bad idea that a private organization does not pay property taxes because that's what's happening. They're not paying property taxes. And we still pay for schools with property taxes. So when they don't pay their property taxes because they're on City of Tempe land right now, they're not paying for schools for the whole state. They're not paying for the schools in any way. And so, yes, Tempe will get some money from them. And keep in mind, as the most handsome man in the room said, these are projections. They're not absolutes. We don't know how much we're gonna get from it. But the bottom line on giblets for me continues to be a couple of things. Number one, they're not paying property taxes for schools for the whole state. It's not just about the city. And number two, we just don't even know what this amount of money is going to be. And we've seen stadium after stadium after stadium across the country does not pan out. The numbers do not work out for the taxpayers. So I'm very wary of it. I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote except for I did do a con statement in the mailer. But this is just from a tax perspective, this has a very serious problem. The other thing is the affordable housing. As you know, Tempe needs affordable housing, not more luxury housing. We have tons of luxury housing. And so while this might be a way to get money here and build over there, we just need to start building affordable housing. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little jaded because we've been working so hard on an affordable housing bill at the legislature. And it continues to be about rezoning the land to make the land more expensive. Tell me when this sounds familiar. Going to make the land more expensive, like this land is going to be so expensive. Instead of saying, let's get some affordable housing built there. So this project has a lot of problems. As a Tempe resident, I'm really not a fan of it. As a advocate for public schools, the tax policy I think is terribly unfair. But thank you for your time and thanks for listening. And contact me.
We will have the other side here, Tempe first next month. So you can bring your questions, concerns, issues, however you feel about that to them next month. And again, you know, we're trying to keep this civil here and give everybody an opportunity. This is for informative purposes only. The LD is not taking a side one way or the other. We're not taking a position. This is to give our voters all of the information so that you can be informed and make an informed decision when you're voting. Next up, we're going to do the bottoming raffle. Joe is on Zoom, so give us just a minute to get it all worked out. Okay. Last minute to buy that raffle tickets, I guess. So just Joe's not going to be able to unmute, so we're going to have to give him access to share screen.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Right? Oh, he doesn't want to be on Zoom. He wants to be on phone. Okay. Can he share?
Oh no, he's going. Hi. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Apparently, no one on the meeting can hear me. Are you guys there?
I can hear you on Zoom.
Yeah, we can hear you on Zoom. I can hear you.
Oh, Stacy, you made it. You want to give a quick update before we do about me? We're just at the letter. Sorry. Yeah. No, that's okay. Okay, so just so you know, we have it, like over here. So we are doing a hybrid. Here's your camera right here, this phone. So we have a little pictures now, so you got to stay in this area.
Okay.
So that they can see and hear you.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I was working late on an amendment. And then we had the Russian delegation come in, the Ukrainian. And as you all know, I have the Russian background. So it was just a lovely experience. And so I'm so sorry to not be able to be here for the whole time. I've been kind of listening in through people and everything. The news that I have for you is very exciting news, and I hope Mitzi will help shepherd it. My military bill has made it through the House. It made it 15-0 through committee, made it 55-5 through the floor, and it's going to be agreed to be heard in mass. So it's going to go on the agenda. So hopefully we'll get the support that we need to put it onto the Senate floor. And I'm very proud of this. We only have 4 Democratic bills who have made it into the Senate, and one of them is mine. So thank you very much. Thank you. The franchise bill. The last update that I gave you at Executive Delights was that
The IFA came from Washington DC to try to kill it. I have subsequently found out they've now hired 2 very high-priced lobbying firms in Arizona to try to kill it even more. So that makes me feel like I'm doing something right. I spoke to somebody the other day and they said, oh, you're on one of your constituents. And I said, oh, I hope you've heard good things about me. He says, I haven't really heard much, but I've heard about your franchise bill. So it's making the rounds. And that's kind of the only updates that I have for you. We're working on Senate bills. We're working on, there's still a few more House bills that are going to be heard. But we've been having an amazing time getting to know people, getting to know our community and our constituents. And so keep your fingers crossed that Bill 2670 makes it through the Senate and up into Katie's office. So that's my update. Thank you.
Okay. I do need to, oh, I don't have my phone, so I'm not getting the steps in again. Sorry. Every day my phone reminds me, hey, you didn't walk enough, and I think I just did that right now. So we're still working out the kinks. Is Joe gonna be able to share his screen? AJ, can you stop sharing, screen sharing, and hopefully Joe can screen share now? Can he text us who the winners are? I mean, like, oh, there we go. Okay. So thank you to everyone who bought raffle tickets tonight. We had a great amount sold. Not sure how many, because Joe always skips that. Oh, look at that. He's slow. Wait, hold on. I know.
Pick the number while you were talking.
155 of the one basket.
Oh, you sure did it.
Now we've got all of them.
Oh, yeah, I bought tickets at the last second. Okay, the first raffle basket winner, 65, is Gavin. What is that? Oh my God. I'm telling you, okay, congratulations, Gavin. Make sure you see Marion in the back for your raffle basket. The second basket, we sold 119 tickets. 19 rows. Number 33 winner. Well, I know it wasn't me because I got to the end. Oh, Kate Spearman. Okay, sorry. She was right back there. Hurry up and go get her. She just left. Okay, congratulations. Thank you to everyone for attending. We will send out an email for what did you miss. It includes everything. I'll stay back behind. Oh, lost and found.
Check it into what?
This was left over at the Christmas holiday party. It's really nice. It's glass. It's heavy. If you know whose this is, it's about the only thing we left because it's the only thing that was really nice. I mean, it's really, really nice. There was, oh, and then, does anybody know, anything about vended cards? Vended cards, what do you call it? The charity? No, okay. I have a plaque, it was left over in CJ's stuff, and it belongs to somebody who volunteered with vended cards, and so I want to give it to them, trying to find a way to give it to them. That was it. So on that, we're going to close at 8:03. Thank you very much.